Welcome to Hopeland. What do pub quizzes, only fools and horses, and being punched in the face by Mike Tyson have in common? Listen on to find out. Engaging microphones and powering on presenters.
Hopeland, 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 Hopeland.
I'm not sure which I prefer, Abby doing that or you doing the little jingle.
Abby, it's consistent though, isn't it, with Abby?
It is consistent.
I'm not consistent.
I'm not. I keep switching on the news, thinking that I'm going to see Abby has, taken over a revolving door, or
spinning it really fast.
Yeah, or I kind of had this vision that she might leave people like dodgy voicemail messages. Do you know what I mean? Where it says like you got a missed call, and you think, oh, I got a missed call, and then you go in there and it's just Abby going. I thought she might do that
because I can. The way should we explain how Abby works?
Go on then.
Because Abby is in this app called Soundly that I love.
Yeah,
and it's like a big content library of sounds, and then you got a bit where you type the words in. You type the words in.
You can make her say anything.
And then Abby comes out with her airport voice. Through the speakers.
Yeah.
The tannoy.
She's dead good. I like her.
And then we hit the put it in Pro Tools button, and in she comes.
There she does. We could make her say anything. Tell us what you want us to make her say.
Yeah.
But I think she's real.
Yeah.
She sounds real.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
It's not like I remember playing with I remember in the year 2000 we were playing with things like Dragon Dictate and other text to speech things, and it was rubbish. It was all rubbish. Nothing would work. And I remember sitting in a meeting where someone said to me, eventually you won't have a keyboard or a mouse. You'll just sit there in your desk and you'll just talk to the computer.
Yeah.
Like they do on Star Trek.
Yeah.
And I remember getting back to my desk, and there was our floor had like 150 odd people, and there were people testing this stuff, and all I could hear was them shouting things like print, print, over and over and over again. And then I just thought, if that was the only way you got to interact with your computer, A, you can hear what everyone's doing all the time.
Yeah.
And then B, how great would it be just to walk past someone's computer and shout restart?
When we were at school, there was a big thing where the watches had like infrared remote controls on them.
Right.
Do you remember those?
I don't think
they looked like calculators. They were
right.
like calculator watches.
Yeah.
And then they also had this kind of like VCR control. Sort of turn your volume up and down, press play, rewind, and all that sort of stuff.
Bonkers.
And our teacher, our tech teacher, was a bit of an old school. Didn't understand technology. So that
I could see where this is going.
it was the end of the term. I think he didn't want to plan this particular lesson, so he put his VHS in, and he'd hit play, and then off we go. We're watching the video, and at different points in the video,
just pause,
just under the table, pause, rewind, all that sort of stuff. Honestly,
man.
He thought Abby had taken over the VCR. That's what had happened there.
Probably had Abby's mum.
Yeah, so that was fun.
I do love that dynamic, where kids and teachers, where there's always that kind of there's that gap, isn't there, between what kind of where the kids are and where the teachers are. It hit me hugely a couple of times where we've had your homeschooling, so that teachers have been on the other end of teams. And there's a radical difference between those that understand it and get it. Do you know what I mean? They're just kind of, the teachers that kind of get it, they're kind of in, everyone's muted, everyone's locked down, chat's disabled, right, sit down, this is what we're going to do, it's great. But then you get, like, I know I had both Leo and Barney in this state over the past kind of 3-4 years, and I would be sitting on the opposite side of the table, and you would just hear it just devolve into chaos where, I remember saying to Leo, what's going on? And he said, it's essentially the teacher's gone now. And the kids are all swapping Fortnite logins. And you just think you can imagine that's not being taught anywhere. In teacher training, it's kind of like you're going to have to do battle in a do you know what I mean? In a conference call, you're going to need to load. And if you don't know everything, then that's it. They're going to hang you. But
my secret weapon was find the best picture of a sloth and post it in the chat. That's it. You've got them.
Oh, is it?
Hook, line and sinker. Yeah.
Is that how you do it?
Yeah. You get them on one, and that's it. You're fine.
And then they're all posting pictures of sloths.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
There you go. Keeps them busy, I suppose. But yeah, no, I do like it was the same when I was at school and at college, at university. I remember getting to university and my maths teacher saying, you need to go and do this in MATLAB. And I was like, well, where's that? And he was like, it's in the computing place down there. Into the engineering block, down to the end. And he said, you'll find it down there. So when I go down to the end and I find where these computers are and I try and start MATLAB and MATLAB doesn't work. And so then I go over to the other side of the hallway where there's even more computers and these were Unix. And I tried to start MATLAB on that. It didn't work on there either.
Yeah.
And then I went down to the IT admin at the time and he was like, well, I don't know what that is. And I said, well, I've been sent down here to do it. And he says, I've got no idea. I said, can I have a go at making it work?
Yeah.
I said, you can if you want, yeah. So then I spent like 2 days in there trying to eventually figured it out and made it work.
Yeah.
And then I became the Unix IT admin at the university. But that's how it was. That was in the 90s.
Yeah.
That's just how it was back then. It was just, can I have a root login? Yeah, all right, here you go. I'll go. And that was it. Off I went and did it. Yeah, different world these days, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the teams thing is a good jump off point actually for our subject today, which is communication.
Communication. God, that sounds boring, doesn't it? Yeah. It's not one of those things where it's kind of like, this will be a team offsite. Neil's going to talk about communication. Going to be great.
How often, this is the question I wanted to ask, right? How often do you communicate like in real life? It's in verbally,
IRL.
in person. Yeah.
I don't know, I shout at the kids a lot. And I work from home. We're actually in my home office at the minute.
Yeah.
So this is my life. I live and breathe in here. And I'm mostly, and once everyone's gone out, I'm home alone all day, every day pretty much. And lots of my IRL communication happens with the postman. The FedEx guy, the DPD guy, and the cats. Spend a lot of time talking to the cats.
You've got a cat bed down there?
I do, yeah, I've got cat beds. That's normally where you're set up there. So normally where you are, the cat bed's there. Okay. And they all sleep in there.
Right.
So if I'm getting particularly stressed, I can just reach over and stroke a cat.
Oh, that's a great idea.
That's the way it works.
Yeah.
But no, it's interesting. I spend but I have done for probably 20 years. It's like my role, I'm either traveling proper, so different country, in hotels and stuff, or I'm online. Yeah. Since way back. I know it's a fairly modern thing now, but for me, this would have been my life since 2006.
Yeah.
Like that.
Yeah.
So, almost everything was chat or voice call or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's weird that it just feels totally normal to me now.
You see, I was not a latecomer to that because obviously, I do technology. I like technology, but from a work and a life perspective, it was the pandemic that did it for me.
It has for a lot of people. We were absolutely slammed because that's the bit of technology I kind of work in. That kind of working from home stuff. And so when everybody else on the pandemic was like pandemicing and stuff, right, and they're having a great time, our world was chaotic. We hadn't planned for it. We had no idea that was coming. So weren't enough servers. Everything was breaking. Everybody was suddenly screaming at us saying, I need these extra buttons. I want it to do this. I want it to do that. I want the mobile app not do this. So we were just like, I probably lost, 18 months, 2 years in the blink of an eye. It just disappeared. It kind of felt like I just woke up one morning and it was 2 years later. And the pandemic to me didn't make any difference really because I was at home anyway. The only difference it meant to me was that everyone else was at home. And like my day normally is chatting to the rest of my team who are the same. They're all at home. But all of a sudden now, the 1,000 people in the broader team are also at home. And so you just get in so many more like Teams calls and conference calls, and you know what I mean. It just that's what happened. But actually, what I do didn't change very much. I don't think.
No. I think.
I know for a lot of people it did.
Yeah. For me, obviously, that my role is in teaching, and I was, that job is in a room with people, like 30 of them, and you're working together and all that sort of stuff. And then all of a sudden, that was taken away, and we were still doing it, but online. And then I did that bit where the schools had to look after the vulnerable kids as well.
Of course,
so I was doing a lot of that as well. And but it was the getting into Teams and doing the virtual stuff. That I suddenly went, oh, I could get used to this. I like this. This is, I mean, I've got a lot of control here. This works for me. I get what this is doing, you know. I know how to use this and all that. And so my brain went, you should work from home all the time.
All the time. You can work in your pants, you know, commute anywhere. You can just go and get a cup of tea when you like. It's brilliant. I love it when it's just our team on calls and you just go, I'm just going to make a cup of tea.
Yeah.
And I just walk into my kitchen and I make a cup of tea while you're chatting to everybody.
Yeah.
And you get like, what are you having? I'm having an Earl Grey. And then
Lady Grey.
It's lovely. It's like, what, you know, I don't know. It's just lovely. But I think we've all grown up with it, like career-wise. We've all totally grown up with it. It's still easy to get things wrong, though, I think.
Yeah.
Do you know when you... in fact, this happened fairly recently to me, actually. There was somebody who I just did not get on with at work, just really, really struggled, which is dead rare for me. I kind of get on with most people. Do you know what I mean? I'm not easily offended. I tend to see the funny side. When the worse things go, like the funnier I tend to find it.
Yeah.
And so I don't get stressed. I just kind of get on with it. And I just, you know, I normally, if something's gone really badly wrong, I'll normally like message people and just, you know, I'll message my boss or whatever and just kind of explain what's going on. But like in a positive way, it's kind of like, hey, you know, the world's on fire, but you know, we've got some cups of water and we're going to try and throw it out. It's going to be great. Anyway, I had to work with this guy and we just butted heads. It was really, really tough, incredibly tough to deal with. When we were in Dublin a few weeks ago, and I met his boss out there, and I just said, I'm really struggling with this. Right? I'm kind of convinced it's me that I'm doing the bad things.
Yeah.
But I just don't know. I don't know what to do. Right? I'm really struggling because I kind of need this thing to be successful. And he just said, "Oh, have you tried calling him?"
Yeah.
And I said, "No, I haven't done that because we're in different time zones. Different time zones." And I said, "No, I haven't." And he said, you should do that.
Yeah.
And it was bizarre. So the next week we got back and the next opportunity, I could see this conversation going off the rails already, just properly butting heads. And then so I said, have you got time for a 5-minute chat? And he said, yeah, okay. We had a 5-minute chat. Turns out that we both completely agree with each other.
Yeah.
Both on the same thing. But like he was just like in text, you know, like in that kind of chat format.
Yeah.
It has to be his decision. He has to have the last word. Yeah. Which I was kind of treating as, oh, he's telling me I'm wrong. Yes. Do you know what I mean? He's telling me that I've got this wrong. Because I was trying to say, well, here's what I think we've all just agreed to. And then he would just say no and then restate exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
But when we chatted we actually chatted, we put our cameras on, when we chatted, it was like radically different. He was like saying, yeah. It was just the weirdest thing where when we did that, it was like, actually, we realized that we were just on the level. It was, we were actually in agreement with probably 90%. There's always a few bits that you kind of, you know, don't necessarily agree on, but everything that was important, we agreed on. And it's just one of those things where I think, I don't know, it's that switching styles, isn't it? Yeah. There's this brilliant thing that I read that says you're likely to respond in the same communication channel that somebody initiated to you. So, like if you message somebody on Facebook Messenger, they're going to respond back on that. Yeah. If you send somebody a text message, they're going to respond back in text message. If you send somebody an email, they're going to respond back in email. And there was a skill in thinking, actually, this should be a voice call, this should be a video call, this should be do you know what I mean? Or you're in a video call and realizing there's too much intricacy here, this needs to be a document or whatever else. And so there's like a real skill, I think, in knowing
what the right format is.
Yeah,
because that's the one for me, is that what spurred this on is the amount of communications that I do that are through voice note or through text.
You love the voice note, don't you? You do all the voice notes.
And the reason is because text, I'm not very conversational on text. I tend to be like very short.
It's short,
I know some people are like essays. Yeah. But, you know, and people are going, have I annoyed him? And I'm like, no, that's how I communicate.
Well, are you doing it on the phone?
Yeah.
Because I do it on my PC. I do it on my Mac.
So you're typing?
Yeah, so I'm typing. So for me, normally, if I'm like WhatsApping or texting or whatever, I've got my headphones on, I'm listening to Napalm Death, and I just type in the same way that I would do. Yeah. And because I work in code, I kind of...
Yeah,
I can type really quick.
Yeah.
So do you know what I mean? It's kind of, for me, it's much quicker I can type faster than I can talk.
Yeah.
So if I've got like, and often I'll have like 3 or 4 conversations that are kind of running and I'm waiting for people to get back to me on.
Yeah.
So just being able just to whiz something off, for me, it's just much, much quicker.
Yeah.
So I tend to do it that way.
But the problem with the text and the voice note and the messenger and that's, that style, isn't it? It's like what is like one side's one person, one side's the other person.
Yeah.
And I think that's had a real impact on the way that we communicate, in the way that I think it makes us far more confrontational with each other about things, because it's about two sides. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I think sometimes the phone call or that, can we just meet for 10 minutes somewhere, and have a chat.
Yeah,
I think it makes it more.
It does make it easier for sure.
Yeah, because you can actually have an organic conversation. Whereas these things are absolutely.
It does depend what you're doing. Like for example, if I am working through an issue with somebody and I don't understand it, because what will normally happen with me is they'll raise a bug or an issue or something on GitHub, and I'll kind of go and have a look at it, and I'll just think, what? I just don't get. I don't understand like half of the words. They're all words.
Yeah.
But I don't understand what you're trying to tell me. So in that case, I'll be like, we need to screen share our way through this, right?
Yeah.
So when we go, and we'll do a screen share and work through it, and usually that gets me where I want to be.
Yeah.
Or like, for example, if you're doing, if we're looking at bits of code, so if somebody wants a hand with something, if something's not working, just sharing the screen, you're both online, you can both change the code at the same time. You can normally we'll have like a split screen, so we'll have like the code and we'll have like a test device and we can whiz through it. Actually, you get loads more done like that than you would do if you were in person.
Really? Okay.
Because you've got access to you can just switch the displays. I can switch in another device if I need to. You can just be really, really quick. And it's my machine. I've got all the debugging tools that I need to get access to, and somebody will have access to what they need. And you can progress really, really quickly. But there are other things, like, for example, we were talking about planning we've got a conference coming up. We need to plan content.
Yeah.
So we need to start thinking about what we're going to talk about, who's going to talk about it.
Yeah.
I much prefer doing that kind of stuff in person.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's I don't know. I think it's dead easy to ignore people, but it's dead easy to overlook people in those conference calls.
Yeah.
If there's 5 of you and 3 people are busy talking.
Yeah.
It's really easy to kind of just forget that those other 2 people are there.
Yeah.
But if you're in a room together, do you know what I mean? You're kind of very aware that somebody's being a bit quiet, so you could say, "Oh, do you know if you do not agree with this?" You know what I mean? And it's a bit different. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think there's a time and place for all of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just think that sometimes you want to do a verbal, sometimes you want to have a physical meeting with somebody, sometimes you want to do a voice message. Like, you know what I mean? If you're like in the car or whatever, it's much easier to do a voice message. You just kind of, blah, 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 and then you kind of, I don't like typing on the keyboard on the phone.
No.
So I'll tend to not do that very much. But
yeah.
Yeah.
The thing I like about the voice message thing and the voice note is that you can convey the humanity of that.
Yeah.
And I know that some people like to use the old emojis and all that to do that sort of bit, but I find text communication really hard to gauge where somebody's at.
How grumpy someone's
going to be. That's it.
Yeah.
And you get something and it looks quite short, or it looks quite, have I done something wrong there? And you haven't. They're probably in the middle of something else and all, and all that sort of stuff.
It's easy. I think comms is responsible for so many like catastrophic mistakes.
Yeah.
I mean, even like NASA run into this. NASA like famously built stuff to the wrong size, didn't they? When they were like NASA
Stonehenge.
Well, NASA work in metric.
Yeah. Oh,
but
God.
they're American. Yeah. So all of the partner companies for NASA work in freedom unit.
Yeah.
And there's been
what freedom unit?
It's like imperial.
Feet and inches. And
or anything but metric.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite.
Metrics is centimeters, meters, that sort of thing.
One of my favorite Facebook groups ever in the planet of ever is Americans will measure with anything but the metric system. And then it's basically news articles where he'll say things like, "There's an asteroid the size of 24 Volkswagen Polos," or it's that kind of thing. And then, but you can see it's quite a big group, so you can. See, what I do is I love to see
458,000 Skittles.
I love to see like fellow brethren of the group where somebody will say something like it will be like such and such a thing is being built and it's going to be 700 meters tall, and then they'll put in there like that's like 5,000 grapefruit for the Americans. And I love it. I just love it. And it's like, it's one of those things. I kind of love those things that are like semi-offensive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's not like I know.
It's just poking, isn't it?
Yeah, I know.
Just-
Like, none of my American friends would get upset about that. Not a single one of them would get upset about it.
Yeah.
But it's just really funny. It's just one of those things because it's so true. It's it's just this kind of dumb. Not all American news, but a lot of American news is kind of
simplified down to that. Yeah.
And I don't know. I love that. But there's that thing about comms. It's not just about gauging tone and stuff. We did in 2022. We took the whole team to London, and I was asked to do what we call core skills exercises, where it's essentially like non-technical skills. It's building transferable skills, or, soft skills, or whatever they get called. And I did it on communication, and I designed this idea where we were going to ask. So that we broke it up into 3 groups, right? There was the customer group, and then there was the product manager group, and then there was the engineering group, right? So the concept is that the customer is asking, and this is the way all products get designed, right? So the customer's asking for a thing, and in our case, it was an app, a health app, I think it was. So you had to go and define all of these characteristics about the app, and then the product manager group had to write that down in clear steps, right? So the engineering could go and build it.
Right.
And then what we did was we went through the whole thing where, obviously the product manager team is supposed to be almost interrogating the customer team to make sure they get everything right, everything they've written down. There are no assumptions. Everything's really, really clear. And then they're also supposed to write it in such a way that it's crystal clear that no one in the engineering group can do. And there's a firewall between them, right? So and this is again often what happens, right? There's like a firewall between them, so they can't once these things are written down. That's kind of they don't get a chance to go back and ask clarifying questions. And then we got everybody back in the room together and went through it all.
Right.
And honestly, it was comical. It was like I think we gave the original customer group something like 25 points that they had on their sheet of paper, and they were allowed to give 5 of the big items of how the app should behave to the product team, and then it was on the product team to go and tease out the rest. And then the product team wrote all that stuff down, and then that went off to engineering. And then what we were doing essentially was trying to tick off how many of the things that engineering built to what was on the original items. And it was like 4 or 5 were right, and the rest were kind of partial. And when we went back to look at it, it was the fact that at every human communication, errors are introduced, and the facts are lost. So, and they're not quite the same thing, right? So there are assumptions being made. So there's stuff added, like somebody will go, oh, okay, so you want it to be, it needs to be easy to use. That means it's got to be dead simple and have have like one button. But it doesn't say that anywhere. But it just says that it like shouldn't be uber complicated. Right. This is going to be for. I think we targeted it like not old people, but non-technical. People. So having to like write code to make it work bad. As long as the UI is sensible and simple, that's okay. But the product team decided, actually, what we're going to do is just uber simplify the thing. And there was loads of other things as well where what they've been told they wrote down differently. And then engineering interpreted that differently. So what you ended up it was just bad. Right? And it was really to show just how poor communication is and how we take it for granted. There's no skills. You don't get trained in it. Like at no point during school do you get taught how to
watch your assumptions.
It's how to communicate clearly. So in all of this, what we say is the onus of communication is on the communicator. So if you're speaking, it's your responsibility to be clear and concise, and it's on you to try and figure out whether people can understand you or not. It's not on the person you're communicating to's responsibility to
listen,
to understand.
Listen.
Do you know what I mean? It's not their responsibility. It's yours. So if they only speak French, you can't sit here speaking English loudly and slowly, right? You need to speak French, and that's kind of the underlying thing that we came to. But then we also looked. I did a bunch of training in the afternoon about there's what's called the Campaign for Plain English, which is I think most English teachers hate the concept of it, but it's essentially using simpler words. This is why American English is better in lots of cases, because the words are simpler, and The sentence structure is simpler in American than in British English. In British English, we use stupid words for things, and we're quite proud of it.
Yeah.
Same is true in lots of the old kind of colonies, right? So India do the same thing where using flowery, descriptive English, which will get you a great mark in an English exam.
Yeah.
When somebody from Bulgaria tries to make sense of it, they're just like, what on earth does that mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where it's a precise, beautiful, prosaic English word, but it's easy to misunderstand. So we did a whole thing about, and I love this, if you're doing this kind of stuff, the campaign for plain English is fantastic. It's just about basically using the most common word.
Yeah.
That's not true, the most common spoken word.
Yeah.
When you're writing stuff. And also then we did this thing about, I've forgotten the term, it's like defensive writing, where you write the thing and then you try and misinterpret it.
Yeah, okay.
Do you know what I mean? So then you go through and say, if I wanted to be mischievous here, how could I misinterpret this? But it's phenomenal. I think written language is just so easy to get wrong, especially if English isn't your native language and you're working in an English company. I've been working with a couple of German customers over the past few weeks. That English isn't normally for global companies I work with, English is the native language. But I was working with a couple of German companies and they're not global. They're kind of German national companies. And German's the natural language. When they work in German, everything in the organization's in German. My German is pidgin at best. Yeah. I can swear a bit. And
you taught the swear words.
They've taught me. I've been working with German customers for such a long time. So I kind of, and I've got a lot of my best friends in the world are from Germany, and they'll probably cringe if I try and speak German. But I can understand it to a degree.
Yeah.
But it's really difficult because we're so used to working with these large organizations. Their natural language is in French, let's say, but they're working in a global company.
Yeah.
So actually their day to day is just English.
Yeah.
So, it's not something you have to think through. But I think especially if you're communicating to people that that English isn't their natural language, or the language you're writing in is not their natural language.
Yeah.
Clarity is really hard.
Yeah.
Really hard to get right, I think.
Translation almost, isn't it? And the thing I was thinking about where you were talking about that was this idea of like, you look at something like the King James Bible.
Yeah.
You look at those translations of from the original biblical language. And then it was translated 2 or 3 or 4 times, and then it was translated another 2 or 3 or 4 times.
But it was translated badly in the first place.
Yeah.
And then there's loads of examples of that in language, aren't there, where actually it was translated inaccurately into the Bible initially, and that's like totally changed the tone, and then that's just been...
So you get to where it is now, and actually it's probably a completely different message to what was originally put in the thing.
Yeah, possibly. And words have different meaning to what they had then as well. Yeah, absolutely. And do you know what's been really interesting is watching our comms teams. So our comms teams, one of the best or the fun things for me was I was working in, it was over in the Nordics. I was working in like Sweden and Norway.
Is that not like the best bit of the world there?
They're pretty cool.
They are, they like that bit.
Yeah, I like it.
The Scandinavian one bits.
Yeah, it's quite. I think it's quite a lot of good friends out that way. I kind of
good
like
music.
I love the way they're so just straightforward.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. There's no dancing around that. They're just but there's no. I don't know. Anyway, I really like them. But I was out there talking about one of our products, and we were doing some training, and they laughed when I demoed a video that we had. And it was brand new at the time, and it was for enterprise apps, enterprise email and Teams and that kind of thing. And it talks about like hardening the security, right? So you've just connected your phone into the corporate environment, and it's just making sure all of your applications are secure.
Yeah.
And the language we chose was hang tight while we beef up security. And that is in American. That's brilliant.
Yeah,
right? That is brilliant. And then the UK, we kind of get it. It's a bit weird, but we're like, oh, we get it. We get where you're going with it, right?
Yeah.
And even as you go across to like Amsterdam and France and stuff like that, they kind of
they'll
get
go
it.
with
They're
it.
like,
Yeah.
we're gonna. And then the Nordic countries were like, we understand it. It doesn't make any sense. It says something like almost like kill yourself while we get a cow. And so it doesn't, and then they were showing me tons of this translations of, so they said that most Nordic countries run in English.
Yeah.
So most of us run the language on our devices. So that's probably why the language, the English language, when you go to those countries, is excellent. It's absolutely excellent. And it's because in many cases the translation is so poor.
Yeah.
That they just not worth it.
That's amazing. I love it as well, where you get sort of stuff that's from sort of the Far East.
Yeah.
And the translations with English and that and stuff. And then, they're just brilliant. The memes are just to die for.
Did you see that one I sent you where it was the
kids' jumpers?
No, it was the Chinese. It was the Chinese subtitles for Star Wars movies. Those. It was. Yeah. That was. I can't remember the details, but it crushed me. I was just reading these things for like half an hour. It was absolutely crushing. It was just. When you're kind of on the floor and you're just like, I'm never going to recover from this.
Yeah.
You got to me about the kids' jumpers now.
Oh, no, it's too offensive.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, I'll have to just show you the pictures. Yeah.
I love things like that. They're too offensive.
Yeah, they are. They're good.
Talking about too offensive and communication.
Yeah.
I have been watching Borat over the past couple of weeks.
What a great thing that is.
I had forgotten just how... you wouldn't get it. You couldn't make that today, I don't think.
No, absolutely not.
But I loved it. It was really interesting. As I was watching it, I'm just kind of thinking, does this make me a bad person? I think this is really funny. Who is this making fun of?
Yeah, exactly.
Is this making fun of people from Kazakhstan?
Yeah.
Is this making fun of people that are like foreign?
Mm.
Is this making fun of like America?
Yeah.
Is this making fun? I mean, who is it? And it's like everybody. It's just making fun of everybody. And I did think it was.
And the other one he did was the dictator as well. There's all the stuff he's done is all just ripping everyone to bits.
But he does it. It's the style he does it. He's got this beautiful way of communicating where he'll lead them into this trap. Yeah. So you can see this kind of trap that's there, and he just leads them bit by bit by bit by bit, and then the punchline appears. Yeah. And you just like, I didn't see that coming. What? It's very, very offensive. I imagine that will be in. It's too soon, I think, at the minute, but I would imagine in at least 10 years, maybe 20 years time. Yeah. That will be. How on earth did people think this was acceptable?
Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When with the millennials, it'll be the Gen Z. Is it Gen Z?
Yeah, whoever they are.
The Gen, they're not going to like that. I don't think. But it did. It's made me. Like, you feel a bit naughty watching it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's not like, if you look at comedy now, comedy writers are so aware. You say the wrong thing, that's it cancelled.
Yeah.
So all you've got to do is say tiniest little thing about, I don't know, you say like rainbows are ugly, that's it, cancelled. And it's phenomenal to me that kind of, I think that stuff is kind of in this grey area. Where like it's not on mainstream media, it's not on mainstream TV, so they're not been offended by it just yet. Yeah. But I think it's coming. I think it's going to come and everyone's going to get offended by it. Actually, what was it?
Bruno was the one for me as well. That was great. Watching that and just going, I was going like, oh gosh.
It makes you feel a bit naughty, doesn't it? It makes you feel a little bit, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a bit weird, but I have to be honest, I get sad at stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see stuff and I just think, oh, no. Usually like it's on mainstream TV.
Yeah.
And I just think and I got sad the other day. I sent you that list of the 5 most Googled. Yeah. 5 most Googled terms. And it was just like, what day is it? What time is it?
Yeah.
And what was the other one? It was just like, really? This is where we're at. We've got the universe at our fingertips. You could search for anything. You could search for like atomic physics or anything. And actually the most Googled terms are like, what day is it? Weather, yeah. We're doomed as a society. But I can't. It's interesting. I can't think the last time I was like offended enough to. Do you know what I mean? I sometimes get quite sad, especially when you see stuff and you think, when you see bullying and things like that. I kind of think, I don't like that. I don't. I think that's not very good.
And I think that's why I made a very conscious decision to step away from social media for
you're
that
not.
very reason.
Where do you get your memes?
Oh, you just find them. People send them, so I still get access to them because
Everyone sends them to you.
Yeah. But I've done a couple of things recently where because there's a few things that like the band are doing or whatever. I'll just
you've
drop
had to
into
go
something through work, like a work account, and just check how it's getting on.
Yeah,
but then you fall down the hole again.
Not very well.
No.
I am not a social media person. Well, do you know what? The best time I've had on social media ever was when we were doing the Monster Shop.
Yes, yeah.
And I didn't touch my own social profiles ever.
Yeah.
It was just interacting with bands and it was brilliant.
Yeah.
A lot of memes, a lot of mucking about, nobody getting angry, no one being daft.
Yeah.
It was just, I mean, it was a lot of people being daft, but no one being offensive or anything. It was just funny and I enjoyed it. So I can't really do it at the minute because our socials still say that we're called the Monster Shop.
Yes.
And we can't change it until March the 29th.
That's creeping up though. That's not
it
far
is.
away.
So once that's done, I'll probably go back on and annoy people, annoy people like that. But it is weird. I think social media and comms is a really interesting area.
Yeah. Because I still don't think as a sort of, I'm speaking mainly for the westernized world, but as a species from the West, we're not very good at it.
So I think
it's still combative. It's still point scoring. It's still playground. It's
being right.
Yeah.
So if you like go on to like my favorite one was Metallica. Right, I used to love. I love the Metallica threads because everyone gets really angry about them.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is go on to any post on social media about Metallica
and have an opinion,
and there'll be a big argument about the first 3 or 4 albums and is Lars the best drummer in the world, and all these different things. But no one's entitled to their opinions. There'll be a post saying, "I think this is the best album," and someone will say, "No, it's not. This is the best album," and then someone else will say, "Well, what would you know? This is the best album," and then before you know it, there's 1,000 comments on it of everybody just giving their post. And at no point did the dude who posted the original thing say, "This is my favorite album. Could you share yours?"
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It will be somebody saying, "This is a terrible album. This is the worst album ever." And it's like this entitlement where, like if you said to me, like I love at the minute, there's an Architects record that was recorded in Abbey Road with an orchestra.
Oh yeah, it's great.
And I think it's one of the best albums ever made. I absolutely love it. Right. And if I said to you, I think this is the best album ever made, and you went, do you know what? I am really enjoying a different album.
Yeah.
We'd both go, oh, that's great. I might listen to that album that you just said in a little while. But on social media,
no.
Can't do that. You have to say, and what I also love about it is the fact that everybody's an expert into whatever's current. So during COVID, everybody was a virus expert.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I like the ones with mathematics in there, because especially the ones with non-intuitive maths, because you, like, as a mathematician, you just kind of scroll down the list and you just like, oh, just no, all of the no's. and then the other thing about the COVID stuff was everybody behaving like they were virologists and knew everything and understood how like things spread and the mathematics behind it and all of that. They knew everything about all of that stuff.
They'd done their research.
Yeah. But then you would have little Rishi saying, I think people should learn more maths.
Yeah.
Why would anyone need to learn more maths? You all need to learn more maths. It's just, you're all terrible. But then they'd have other things like, then there will be something about, or what was the next thing? It will be, about guns or about whatever, about war, about whatever. Everyone's an expert. And they switch. They're like, I was a virology expert last week. And now I'm an expert in gun control.
There's a UK general election coming soon. There'll be experts on politics then as well.
Everybody's an expert on politics. And I just think we've lost that. We've definitely lost that ability to be wrong. It's the, we talked about this in offsite, that growth mindset stuff, which is, it's a weird term, I think, that gets misunderstood. But ultimately, it's about changing your mind. It's about the first step of critical thinking is I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Because you can't learn anything new if you think you're right.
Yeah.
So whenever you see Facebook posts or whatever else and you think, I disagree with that, I'm going to go and tell that person they're wrong. The first step of critical thinking is I might be wrong. I need to go and check my, before I'm going to go on there and abuse somebody, I'm going to check my thinking. I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to check my thinking. Then I'm going to check their thinking. And then I'm going to state my position.
Yeah.
Right. most critical thinkers just can't be bothered
No.
and go, do you know what? I shall do none of those things and have a cup of tea instead.
Yeah. I saw that in real life last night happen.
Did you?
Yeah. I was at a pub quiz,
Oh, really?
which I'm not very good at.
I hate pub quizzes.
No, I'm not very good
They
at
always
quizzes.
ask things you don't know the answer to.
Yeah.
Why don't they ask things I know?
And I want to get Google out every question. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I want to find out about that. You know?
Yeah, well, that's interesting.
Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah.
What was the name of the flats where they lived, or the place?
Nelson
where they lived?
Mandela House.
You know that. I didn't know
Get
that. You would
in.
have got that point, definitely. Yeah. So there was a man there.
A man.
And there was a question about the states in America and how many there were. And he was like, there are 51.
I don't think that's correct.
No, it isn't correct. But this man was absolutely, I know that there are 51 states in America.
I think there were.
Yeah.
Was he an old man?
Bit older than us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there were, perhaps when he was at school.
Yeah.
And now there aren't.
Yeah.
What happened? Did he die?
He left still thinking there were.
I think the quizmaster should have come and like smashed like a wet fish around his face. I like the ones where the answers are vague.
Yeah.
So there's that bit in Bridget Jones where ask the question. Oh God, that's a claim to fame, isn't it? I've not seen Game of Thrones. They're probably about evens, aren't they?
Yeah, that'd be. Yeah.
But there's a bit in there where they're at a pub quiz and it's a really big deal, and they're asked. They're asking all these kind of highbrow questions, and she doesn't know. She says, "I'm only here for like pop quiz stuff. I don't know like popular music and stuff." And anyway, there's a question that says, "What was the first Madonna single?" Yeah, and it was something like a Virgin or whatever. She goes, no, it wasn't that. Everyone thinks that, but it's actually Lucky or something. Yeah. and it's wrong. And I love it. And I just think that's it. That's a pub quiz for you.
Yeah. So that's what you got to remember is online. Yeah. The social media world is just pub quizzes where everyone's doesn't know the answer but thinks they do. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah,
that's true. It is weird. I do wonder what we do about that. There was one of the courses I did, one of the hardest courses I did was called the Exchange Master Program, Exchange Server Master Program. It was called the Exchange Rangers back when I did it, but it was really tough. Yeah, really the hardest thing, without doubt, that I've ever done. And anyway, when you get there, you have to be like top fraction of 1% to even be allowed to pay to go on the course. Wow. Right? You kind of have to go through all of these hoops and things. And naturally, what happens is when you get into the training room for the first day, you all know each other. You're all kind of names in the community, and everyone thinks they're the best. Yeah, everybody already thinks they know all the answers. They know everything. They studied really, really hard just to get there, and then you're going to get trained a little bit higher. Yeah. And on the Tuesday morning, they used to do this thing called the FU test. Right. And it was literally just a leveler. It was this test to kind of say, right, you lot are brilliant. Yeah. Absolutely brilliant, but you don't know everything. Yeah. Right. And you need to be in this state where there's two ways of this will play out. Either you accept the fact that you've got some learnings to take on board, probably a lot of learnings to take on board. Yeah. Or you'll just fail miserably at this. This is not about guessing. It's not about what you already know and stuff. And it always stuck with me, this thing, because it was like the arrogance in the room, including me. You all kind of sat there thinking, I'm just the best that there's ever been. Yeah, you know what I mean. I'm going to waltz this. I'll just get the top marks and walk out. Yeah. You know, that's kind of just give me the exams now. And it was really interesting because they gave us this FU test and everyone failed it. And you were told before you got there that if you failed a single exam, you were straight back. Wow. It was $50,000. Yeah. So you had to pay my boss had to pay $50,000 to send me there. And then you fail a single. You got an exam a week. And if you failed an exam, you just got sent home, and you were there for like 4 or 5 weeks. Wow. 16 hours a day, Saturday, Sunday. It was just properly full on. But yeah, that's what they did. They gave you this test, and you failed it, so we all thought we were going home. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Okay. Yeah. And then you just had that realize, actually, probably should have paid attention. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, it's really difficult if you think you know everything. And I think that's what happens on social media. Yeah. And it's low risk as well, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? It's not like a pub quiz where you put your hand up and you say, I've got the answer, and you look like an idiot in front of your mates. Yeah. People arguing on social media, they don't know each other. No. And it's, I don't know, did we talk about this last week or the week before? That dehumanizing.
Yeah, the othering, yeah.
The othering of people. And it's that just, I don't care who you are, so I'll just be a pain. Do you know what I mean? It's just that poor level of communication. Kids do it. You see kids bullying, and at no point do I think the kids are like articulately, critically thinking, I'm going to make this other child cry. I want to cause them immense pain. Just don't care. They're not thinking. And I think the same is true of social media. Yeah, to some degree.
Yeah. So there we go. I think the solution to communication is humility and integrity.
Mike Tyson says, I can't remember what it says. It's what is it? Everybody's. Oh, is it something like everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the face, something like that. and I think a lot of comms is down to that, right? I think it's the risk level, right, where everybody's as smart. It's why I think it's why road rage is. Because people can't punch you in the face while you're in your car. So you feel like you can be an absolute moron.
Yeah. Safety.
Yeah, but as soon as you're kind of within punching distance of somebody, you can see it, right? You can just see people behave differently in person than online. And it's this thing where, I don't know, not everybody, but I think it's true of a lot of people, especially, honestly, road rage is definitely where this comes from.
Yeah.
It's just that I can do what I want. You can't touch me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, well, I'm in my safe steel box, and social media is the same, and maybe texting's the same a little bit to some degree. Whereas if, like you say, if you're in a room with somebody, really different dynamic, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's a really different dynamic, and you can read people a little bit better, true, but you're far less likely to be really insulting because Mike Tyson might appear and punch you in the face.
Yeah.
And no one wants Mike Tyson punching them in the face. You see him, he's going to fight again, isn't he?
Yeah.
He looks dead healthy.
Yeah, he's going to kill him.
I wouldn't want Mike Tyson punching me in the face.
No, absolutely not.
Not at all.
No.
Do you know what? If he was in there, I'd be like, do you know, maybe that's the message. The Hopeland message is communicate as if Mike Tyson was in the room about to punch you in the face.
There we go. Nailed it.
I think that's that's how we solve world communication.
Yeah.
Just do that.
Just have Mike there.
Just imagine, I'm going to go online and get a little image
Tyson.
of Mike Tyson, a little like figurine.
Yeah.
And then as I go through my day, I'm going to imagine if I said this to Mike Tyson, would he punch me in the face?
And I think that's it. I think that's a wrap.
I think we've solved it. Do you know what? I feel like we should get a prize, Nobel Prize.
Yeah.
I think there should be something there for that.
Yeah, I think so.
That was excellent.
Yeah.
And so, great. I don't know. What should we do something really boring next week as well?
Yeah. I tell you, I like them. They're rambling. I like them. They're good.
Very good.
Yeah. Turn up.
See you next week.
Thank you for listening to Hopeland. If you enjoyed the show, you can A. Subscribe on your favourite podcast service. B. Leave a nice review. C. Tell a friend or two. Turning off microphones. Presenters back in cold storage, where they belong.